describe yourself as a radio station when you're nothing more than an internet platform. I tell you what, that is the biggest thorn. I worked hard in broadcasting. I went into it in 1976. I paid my dues to be a broadcaster. Okay? I don't do my show on a kitchen table or in the living room, on a coffee table. I don't use a $10 microphone plugged into my computer. My studio is probably, I hate to say it, equipped as good as if you went into any radio station, AM or FM. I have the same equipment they have, minus the transmitter. Okay? I don't have the transmitter. We transmit out through the internet. We go through a bunch of servers. We feed out to a service that feeds out to the radio stations, and then we feed out to all the different platforms. Now, if I sit there and our show was heard on iHeart and on, Apple Podcasts and TuneIn and all these other ones, right? That's not syndication. That's not syndication. You're just being fed out to a whole bunch of apps. Syndication, my friends, out there is when you're on other radio stations and they're carrying it. And that, again, is a slap in my face. A big slap in my face. When I hear I'm in syndication and they advertise it. Okay, well, what's your definition of syndication? Being on the internet? Okay, well, then say it. You're on internet syndication. Don't say that your show is on syndication when it's not. And I'm not mentioning the person's name or whatever. And it's not just one person that is doing it. It's a lot of them that do it. Again, I paid my dues. I was in retirement, and my friend, like 3 Septembers ago, called me up, and my friend happened to be Art Bell. I mean, he was a licensed amateur. I used to be a licensed amateur years ago. I'd known Art for many years, and being a broadcaster, and we talk a couple of times a month. I was in retirement, because I would go see him every summer around June. I'd go down there with my kids on our motorcycles to Pahrump, and we hang out for the day or so, bugging Art and Art bugging us. And here one day I get a phone call, and he says, "You know what? You're too old to ride those motorcycles, those Harleys. You're going to kill yourself. Why don't you get back on radio?" Because I was telling him I was bored. I mean, living in the Pacific Northwest, you can't go riding every day. Because, there's wind, there's a lot of rain. And I'll tell you what, when you get a certain age, all you can do is then at that point read books and watch TV. And Art said, "You know what? Why don't you get back on the radio?" And I said, "I don't know if I want to." Yeah, it was 10 years I was off radio at that point. And you know what? I got on it. I blew it. I started a stupid show called Motorcycle Talk. Duh, because I loved motorcycles. I had 15 listeners. 15 listeners. And then I get a phone call a couple of weeks later, and Art goes, "Well, how's it going?" Quite naturally, he's been listening. And I said, "I got about 15 listeners." And he broke out with his typical Art Bell laugh, and he goes, "Well, have you learned your lesson?" I go, "Yeah." And then it took me a long time, because it's like, when you're off not doing something on a regular basis, and radio has changed quite a bit. It took me, up to about my injury back last June. I hate to say it. I sat there because I couldn't walk. I was bedridden for a month or so. And then I realized what I was doing wrong when I was trying to come back. And then I've been improving the show. Evidently enough, where a lot of radio stations are carrying it, and a couple more big ones are going to be picking up us on March. And one of them is in Philadelphia. So, I guess, things are changing. But I paid my dues to get where I'm at. When I did the studio, one thing Art told me, don't do it on the cheap. Well, when I first started, I didn't want to spend the money. I think I spent a couple $1,000s, and it was on the cheap, and it sounded like it. I tell you, everything in this studio is just as good as any radio station you walk into. And I think my audio proves it. And that's another thing. I hate people who go on Facebook Live and drink their beer, smoke their cigarettes in a dirty T-shirt, and doing a so-called talk show. Now, I'm not slamming people. This lady today sending you that message, James, really upset me. Really upset me. Not because it wasn't directed at her. I'm sure now, because she does listen to the show, I'm sure, or the replay or whatever, she's going to be mad. I didn't mention her, okay, or her show. I would never do that. But I tell you, I paid my dues, but I've never had somebody in all my 40-some years in broadcasting ever come up to me and say, you know what, this guy's a phony. This guy, you shouldn't have him on this show. Everything he says is a lie. So then I listen to your show, and what do you have? Duh. You got some mediums, and a couple of the mediums I heard on your show, the ones I've had on my show that were as phony as a $3 bill. And you're sitting there telling me that my guess was phony, and that's wrong. It's a wrong thing to do. I would never do that. I would never contact a talk show host and say, you shouldn't have this person on your show because he's phony. Well, look in the mirror, baby. Just look in the mirror. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. Tonight, we're going to be talking about, with a guest, Larry Hardren, I should say. He's a former DEA agent. He's wrote 2 books, and we're going to talk about, his career and these books. D.E.A. It's going to be a rather interesting show tonight. And tell your friends about Night Dreams Talk Radio. Check out our website at www.nightdreamstalkradio.com. I'll be back. I just got to get a glass of ice water to cool down.
And he drove his motorcycle that fast. He drove a big chop hog with a gang colors jacket, and he ran down citizens for laughs. He had an old lady named Petula, packed an automatic 45 gun. They had just come up from California, where they shot 6 cops for fun.
Jake thought he was the best there was. Down the interstate he'd roar, till the day he tangled with the county sheriff. They all called 104, 104.
It was late on a Thursday evening, and Jake, he was feeling kinda mean, 'cause he'd just run out of his favorite drug, the one called amphetamine. So he sauntered up to Petula, and he said, say, baby, let's split. There's a little gas station on down the road that might be fun to hit. So they drove up to the station, and they both jumped off and takes a ride. They were up to derision at Jake's decision as they both sauntered to the inside. The attendant, he was an old man, and he didn't think it very funny. When Petula pulled out that great big gun and said,
Honey, give me all your money.
Well, the old man opened up the cash drawer, and Jake grabbed the money and ran with Petula out the door to the big chop hog that was parked on the center kickstand. Then they headed out for the 4-lane, and they thought it was lots of fun, with Jake and his hog, with Petula the dog with the automatic 45 gun.
Jake thought he was the best there was. Down the interstate he'd roar, till the day he tangled with the county sheriff. They all called 104, 104.
Do you have a paranormal story you want to share on Night Dreams Talk Radio? You could be a guest. Email us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com.
You can advertise your business on Night Dreams Talk Radio, and you will be heard worldwide. Why not contact us at nightdreamstalkradio@gmail.com. Night Dreams Talk Radio, After Dark, wants to give a big shout out to all the truckers that listen to our show. coming to you from some far point station, like a cosmic tumbleweed, both north and south of the Pleiades. Here's your host, Gary Anderson.
And that is me. Hopefully you don't have thunder and heavy rain where you're at. I know some parts of the country are getting hit with a lot of rain. Some places are getting hit with a lot of snow and ice. I tell you what, as Earth changes, and talking about Earth changes, Whitley will be on our show. He wrote a book with Art Bell, and it was called The Global Superstorm. And that will be on tomorrow on Night Dreams Talk Radio. Hey, I'm sorry I vented to everybody. It just kind of, how can I say it? It rubbed me wrong when you sent me that message from that lady talk show host.
Yeah, and to be honest, in my opinion, I think the person has a personal vendetta against them because you don't wait a day or day and a half after the show or a day after the show to say something like that they're blackballed and all this and that and stuff. I just blows my mind they even reach out to do that. And again, it's entertainment. Even the great Art Bell would say that. But instead, it was more self-serving. They want to. It's kind of negative. Like the person wants bad. They don't want any success or anything positive to happen for this person. Nobody's perfect. We all sin. We're all sinners. We all learn from our mistakes. But to stoke the fires of negativity, especially being a psychic medium, one of the worst things psychic mediums have is this ego and pride and vendetta and revenge and
I don't know. It upsetted me big time. Here's what she sent to you. Now, tell me if this is right or wrong. See, personally, no. Okay, let's see. Maybe that's not the right one. This is what she sent me. I background check everyone before airing him. I personally know the people he worked with. It's why I felt you needed to know. Airing him only makes you look bad, especially when you allow them to continue on the show. On that note, well, thank you for getting back to me. Now, what I found very interesting is what she said to you. I don't know if you have that handy, but
yeah.
Okay, here it is. Okay, how are you? Listening to your show with Patrick Cross. Just a head up, as a professional courtesy, he's lying about all his experiences. He's not known here or nor is sought after. He exaggerates all his experiences. The networks never reached out to him, which, you know what? He's on them. I seen him. I heard him. Okay.
I have to.
Yeah, well, yeah, that don't make sense there. He exaggerates. He was on an investigation team, and and because of it, none of what he said is spoke the truth. Listen to other interviews and his stories; they always change, and then it goes on. But why would somebody do that? Okay, again, this show is nothing more than entertainment. I have never slammed a guest. Now, I have called out some guests. Yes, I've taken down rabbit holes. And when I feel that a guest is, really out there, then I'll call them out. But, I have had a lot of ghost hunters on the show. Now, do I sit there and call every one of them a liar? Every one of them, whatever they are? Okay, well, I can say the same thing about mediums. I can say the same thing about UFOs and people who claim they were abducted. Come on. This is pity. It's petty stuff. And it just upset me. And more than anything, you're not the host of the show. You don't own the network. I'm the host of the show. I own the network. And, and she didn't send it to our corporate attorney. She didn't send it to my agent. She sent it to you. And she was friends with me. And she knows who I am because she knows I do the majority of the mouth talking. And it just upset me the way she did it. She did it to aggravate me by doing it for you. You know that.
Yeah. And you're right. And here's the thing. We've had guests covering everything from, flat Earth to doing missions on Mars to all this stuff. And, a lot of people out there will say that they're bad. But you know what? Who's the judge? Who are we to judge? Let people tell their story. The guests or the listeners will know what's right, what's wrong, what's fake, and it's up to them. We don't judge. We're not a. Yeah, I give paranormal news of what's coming on, but it's not like I'm saying this is stamped in stone.